The Lazarus Pit is a supernatural pool which is capable of healing injuries and illnesses, resurrecting the dead, or pretty much granting immortality. However, in different continuities, different stories, different worlds, the Lazarus Pit does operate a little bit differently. In some stories, it can do all of the above. In others, it can only heal you of old age or illnesses. Some, you need to bathe in it multiple times in a short period to actually utilize its effects. There are others where the Lazarus Pit cannot be used to bring people from the dead, but to only heal them. There are many different variations, and it all depends on the one that is particular being written for the story, or the one you specifically like yourselves. Well, the conversation I want to have today is, in fact, in the title. Should Batman use the Lazarus Pit? This is something that could do wonders for anyone, but it could definitely be utilized well if it was in the hands of Batman. Now, as I said, there are many different ways the Lazarus Pit has been written in the past, and we do need to look at this in a situation where if you were going to write a story where Batman does utilize the Lazarus Pit, it needs to be a good enough reason for him to do it, but it can't just all be good. There needs to be some takeaways from the Lazarus Pit that would give Batman a reason not to do it. And there are also a lot of examples of that type of storytelling in the past as well. If you even look at Batman Beyond, when Bruce Wayne used the Lazarus Pit in that story, he used it not just because he was subtly being played by Talia and Roz, considering his brain was in his daughters, and he wanted to put his mind inside of Bruce Wayne, but also Bruce even admits it was a sign of weakness. It was his feelings of his old age, the lack of not being able to do or move in ways he once did, the feeling of being a little bit younger and giving to the city that he's always been able to give before, it caught up to him. And he wanted to change that. He wanted to become a little younger. He wanted that feeling of being powerful again, even if in those split moments he was doing it for all the wrong reasons. Bruce Wayne is still a human at the end of the day, and even one of the most powerful humans, such as himself, not just in body but in mind, we will always have some mental lapses, some nostalgic feelings. And you could only imagine how you would feel seeing your body the way it is now compared to when you were a young man 60, 70 years ago. One of my favorite examples of the Lazarus Pit is actually Superman and Batman Generations, and this is on an Earth from 3839. And this is basically where Batman and Superman started their careers in the 1930s instead of modern day. You get to follow their journey from the 30s into the late 30th century. Bruce Wayne, who is a little bit older at this point, had to fight Ra's al Ghul in the pit, and whoever won would come out immortal. And of course, at the end of the day, Bruce Wayne won that battle. Even though it's not really immortality, it is the next best thing. Bruce would only age 1 year for every century, so every 100 years. And I really like the idea of a Lazarus Pit being that powerful. Now, for example, when I look at who Batman is, who Bruce Wayne is, his reasonings for or for not using the Lazarus Pit, I think there is a way to simplistically look at it and say Bruce will always want to be there for his city as Batman. This is a decision he has chosen to make for his life, to forever carry the cape and the cowl, and to forever keep his city protected. And as we've seen throughout history of comic books and other media with these characters, Gotham City is never going to be a safe place. It is always going to be the same cesspool, no matter what stories you create. So one has to wonder that even if Bruce was Batman for 30, 40 years, in a lot of cases, his goal can be to literally give his final breath, his body to this city. Everything he's got. Wouldn't protection of Gotham and its citizens be everything he would want to try and accomplish until he finally passes away? And if he could potentially prolong his existence to continue fighting, Would he want to do it? Just as Bruce says in Batman vs. Superman, criminals are like weeds. Pull one up, another grows in its place. Bruce Wayne is also a very stubborn man. He thinks he can do this forever. And even if he hypothetically could do it forever, should he really? Is it a waste of time? How much is too much? How far is too far? The Lazarus Pit would allow Bruce to continue being Batman for as long as he would need be. Now, looking at it from a little bit of more detail, Batman has trained many people in the past to take up some sort of Cape Crusade role. He's had multiple Robins, multiple Batgirls, there's even Batwing nowadays, there's Batwoman, and the one who has most popular taken his mantle in the future, Batman Beyond, who he has personally trained himself and even acts as a semi-Alfred role to him. There is an argument to be made that if Bruce ever stopped being Batman, he should feel okay knowing that there are those who he has trained who will keep Gotham or other cities they choose safe. He should know that his legacy of Batman, the city he has sworn to keep safe, will always be guarded over, will always be watched by those he has taken under his wing. Having Terry McGinnis as a new generation Batman should be enough for him. But I still think there are people out there who could make an argument that Bruce Wayne is such a stubborn man that he truthfully does not think that this job can be completed anywhere near to his liking if it's not him doing it. Because realistically, I think 8, maybe 9 out of 10 Batmans, they would never retire if they had the option. Bruce would continue to be Batman for however long he needs to be Batman for, and as long as he's protecting Gotham, that day will never end. And the only reason why he does eventually take the step back is because he is older. Unfortunately, for a human, we can't do this stuff forever. Utilizing the Lazarus Pit as well would not just allow him to keep defending Gotham, it would also allow him to keep up and continue with the Justice League, especially characters like Superman and Wonder Woman who don't really age, or at least have versions of them who don't age or age very, very slowly. Justice for his own city doesn't just continue, it is justice for the entire world that he will continue to uplift. Now, looking at some of the side effects that could come along with the Lazarus Pit, and one of the most obvious ones would be simply that Ra's wants Batman to use this pool for all the wrong reasons, and it would be for Batman to become the new Demon's Head, which is exactly what Batman will never do, because he will never conform to the ideals of Ra's al Ghul. He wouldn't want to become as radical as him, but I think the biggest problem with using the Lazarus Pit, depending on how it is written, you think you could overcome that nature, but truthfully, the Lazarus Pit has properties that turns you into that being without you even realizing. And it does not matter if it takes 200, 300, 400, 800 years to do it, it will eventually make you that person. And by the time you've become that person, there is no stopping it. We've even seen what it's done to someone like Red Hood. Revive someone who is dead, they come back evil, they come back angry. Or how about Ra's in Arkham City, where he says he's been using it so much that it's almost becoming to the point where it's too much. And now the source of this pool is not fully healing him to 100% capacity, and he is also not the same man he once was. The Lazarus Pit is not utilized well for humans, or it can also be perceived as a necessary evil, if you will. This is something you might have to use. This is something you might have to do, but when doing it, it's going to take something away from you. And even if you don't notice it in your first time, you will notice it the more you use it. And then eventually, it's like a drug. You become addicted. The fountain of youth is longevity. It is power. And as long as you own that, you can do whatever you want for however long you want. It would, in my opinion, be something that is very, very useful for Batman. But the dangers on how it could change him, how it could alter him, would be far more important to him than simply using it so he could continue to be Batman for as long as possible. I also view Bruce Wayne as somebody who respects the natural order of things. And being a human being, we do all naturally meet an end. And for Bruce Wayne, I do believe he would think of that in the same way, that once his time comes, he respects it enough to allow it to happen. Just like that Batman Beyond episode, I think it would be absolutely okay for Batman to have a change of heart, even if it is slightly. No one wants to grow old. And imagine having a life, having a body in which other people were not capable of replicating some of the amazing things you could do. You would look back on your life and want that again. You would love to have the ability to have that youth. Now, looking at both sides of this, the pros and cons of using the Lazarus Pit, I would myself lean on the side of not using the pit. I do think that in the long term, there is a lot more negatives than positives. And if you want to look at those negatives, just look at the type of man that Ra's al Ghul is. However, because I do like to make my own creative choices here and there in my content, I do think there could be some instances where Batman actually utilizes the Lazarus Pit and it could make for an interesting story. You could do something like Arkham City where Batman does drink from the chalice, and even though it does not rejuvenate him in the long term, it only helps him for the next couple of hours before he gets the cure. There is, I think, an interesting story to tell in which Batman maybe gets influenced, maybe chooses to do so off of his own volition, where he does bathe in the Lazarus Pit at least once or twice, essentially because he thinks it is necessary. Maybe once to bring his age down from someone who's 45 to maybe 25, or maybe he's in a situation where he is very battered and injured and has no choice and needs to use it. And maybe you could play off an idea where Bruce is actually becoming addicted to the Lazarus Pit, and he is starting to get ideas that maybe he should go to war with Ra's, remove him from the picture. The Lazarus Pit will be his, along with his potentially in this world beloved being Talia. You could give the Lazarus Pit a true definition of an addiction. Batman has only used it once or twice at this point, and he's already feeling this pull, this call to the pit. So you could imagine how Ra's feels knowing that he's probably used this pit more than 100 times in his 600-700 years on Earth. I think another one that would be really interesting, one that I would personally write, is if Batman unwillingly got thrown into the pit. Whether he was pushed, kicked, punched, this would be one pool that Bruce Wayne has vowed to never use, and now he has to deal with the fact that he is unwillingly used it. And whereas now he has been given the ability to live a little bit longer, whereas there are pros to it, he'll be able to continue his crime fighting career. There are also negatives, disturbing the natural order of things. Maybe it could even feel like a curse. He looks at someone like Dick Grayson, who they potentially look like they're the same age now. He looks at someone like Alfred, who could potentially die in the next 10, 15, 20 years from old age. And now he feels that I look in the mirror, I get younger, and I look at Alfred, and now he is getting older. I am going to need to live an even longer life than usual now without my best friend, without my father, Alfred. Living a supernaturally prolonged life sounds great at first, but when you take in some of the details of what that means, watching people around you possibly pass away before you, becoming the same age as people who are younger than you and looked up to you as a father figure potentially, or as an adult, it's going to be a little strange. It's going to feel weird. And once again, with Batman taking away the natural order of things, allowing Bruce to age or die on his own time, and that has now been altered, that would be tough for someone like him. And to see how he handles this struggle would be very interesting. So that is just a bit of a discussion I wanted to have about Batman and the Lazarus Pit. Should he use it? Should he not? Reasons to do it and reasons not to do it. So you guys let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think the Lazarus Pit, that if written properly, fairly, that Bruce Wayne should use it? Or do you think it is something he should stay away from and he should actively keep others away from using it? That is all I have for you on this one, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.